All right. Well, welcome. Today is April 12th, 2022, and this is the big conjunction day of Pisces and Jupiter. I'm sorry, of Neptune and Jupiter in Pisces. I'm always mistaking that, but they're in the sign of Pisces, Neptune and Jupiter. And I'm going to go over tonight why this is so significant and what this is really about for the collective and for ourselves as a whole. And so that you can maybe start to be aware of the energies that are coming up, realizing that that this is at play with all of us, and this is really for our soul, the sake of our soul, right? So this is what I've called this tonight, is for the sake of our soul, and it's really about our soul's expansion, and it is reminding us of why we're alive, and it's the expansion of our soul. And this conjunction is really giving us a beautiful opportunity to understand what that means for each one of us. So all we can really do is walk our own truth, right? And the key to awakening is so simple, but it's so hard at the same time, because really it's just about being ourselves, and that's it. Like there's nothing more than just the ability to trust ourselves, to release programming, right? To claim who we are, and trust life enough to be ourselves. So that's what tonight is about. It's about what we're claiming and what we're releasing. And so, but first off, I just want to introduce myself to those who are new to me. My name is Erin Esser, and I'm an astrologer. I'm a human design reader, and I'm a conscious parenting coach. I'm also a manifesting generator, and it's hard for me to put myself in a box like that, because I'm like, gosh, there's so much more that I do, but that sums it up as neatly as I can. But what I do is I really use and connect to my own intuition. And I'm really able to tune in and see and witness another in their journey in a profound way that leaves you feeling heard and seen and valuable. So I believe in a world where magic is more than doing tricks and like conning people in a magician show. I believe that when we're in true connection with ourselves, we are then in connection with God and with spirit. This is when all things are possible. And a question I love to ask myself, and if you've ever worked with me, you've probably heard this from me before, is what else is possible that I've never considered before? So I will allow that to activate you in whatever way it needs to activate you tonight, just even at an unconscious level, is just planting that seed within you, is what is possible that you've never even considered before. So a couple announcements before we dig into this. A couple things for you. First off, I have a membership group that I just started a couple weeks ago, and it's kicking off, and I would love it if you'd want to join and check it out. I offer now daily videos that I just started the daily videos, several discussion forums, energy updates, and other exclusive content, with more to come as my membership evolves. So the first week is free, and it's only $9 a month after that. So, and you can cancel at any time. The other benefit too is as a member, you get discounts to my courses and my readings as well too. So it's really a no-brainer when you think about that. But anyway, the other really exciting thing too that I have going on is my new course. And I'm so excited about this. I really feel that this is part of my own path in this life. And I don't see, it's incredibly unique, but I'm launching it here this week. And so I just wanted to mention it because it really goes along the lines of why we're here tonight, and what we're here for, and what we're leaving behind, what we're seeding for the future, and the legacy that we're also leaving. But this class is for the parent it's like, and it doesn't have to just be for parents, but it's mainly for parents that desire to be the best parent that they can be. If you're tired of all the parenting magazines and the generic advice and the, oh my gosh, going to other people to give you advice on parenting, then you're fed up and you're like crazy. It's like, like, no, I know there's got to be something else possible here. So this is for the someone who is tired of like, or is tired of being tired, right, of parenting, and they desire, you're like, okay, I'm done. Like, I desire to rewrite my own parenting past and have the relationship with my kids that I know is possible. I just don't know how to get there. So what it's called is sovereign kids, and it's where conscious parenting and human design collide. So we're going to go deep into rewriting like your own parenting past, healing your own inner children, learning facets of your own human design and your kids' design. Learning, here's the cool thing, learning in your chart where you have inherited your unique mother wound and your father wound. Not to blame our mother and father, but just to acknowledge it and to be aware of it. And you're also going to learn where your kids are inheriting theirs as well. Because when we are aware, we show up differently. So we're going to go over emotional IQ. Again, like I said, we're going to be healing our own inner child. We're going to be releasing our own wounds to create the space in ourselves to be truly present and show up for our children. And how awesome would it be to learn how to create boundaries that are like rooted in our values so that we can feel like an empowered parent versus power over our children, right? And then feel horrible afterwards, right? I believe, and I know this, that parenting does not have to be so hard. I'm a parent of 3 kids. I have 3 teenagers, and I changed my whole way of, and everything that I'm bringing in this class is everything that I've done over the last 7 years in my own parenting journey. And so this is tested, this is tried, this is like, this works. And this is about reprogramming ourselves to parent in an empowered paradigm so that we're raising conscious kids in this new world that we're entering into, especially after this conjunction tonight. Like, we have to, like, it's so important to know ourselves. And how amazing would it be to feel empowered and confident to be able to share with our kids how they make the correct decisions for themselves so that they can carry true compassion in their hearts, not out of like a codependency, wounded compassion state, but because they've healed their wounds so they can truly be of true service. So anyway, this begins on May 31st. It's April already. So this begins May 31st. So anyway, we're going to get with it now and start this class. But if you're interested in my membership program or in this course, just reach out and ask me after this tonight. So, all right. So 1856. And if you want to take notes, this is a good time to grab notepad and paper, but, and your chart too, if you don't already know where Pisces is in your chart. And I will say this too, if you know your rising sign, you'll know, if you know your rising sign or your ascendant, you'll be able to know the house that Pisces is in for you as well too, because I will speak that as we go through the houses. So in 1856 though, which was the last conjunction of Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces, spiritualism was everywhere during this time. And I was doing a little research into this, and one of the books that I found that was, it's actually for sale now. It's called The Spiritual Herald, and it's like a record of seances, and it goes for $1,500. So I was just looking at different books, what was going on around this time frame, and it was huge. It was a huge time in history that the spiritual realm just really came alive, and mediums were huge. Seances were huge. It's reported that Abraham Lincoln, because he was in the White House at this time, and his wife, they lost their son, and he was 11 years old. And it's reported that actually they had seances in the White House, and that they used mediums to connect with their son. So, it's all like, if you look it up, it's like, well, this is hearsay, but there's so much about it that, I know in the 80s, Reagan had a regular astrologer as well too for him. So who knows what was happening in that time. It's pretty interesting though, how rampant it was and how almost mainstream spiritualism was. And this is when the last time that Neptune was in Pisces. So this was in 1856, this conjunction that happened in Pisces. The next one is not until 2188. And to be exact, it's May 10th of 2188, because I was looking that up just to have that information for you. And right now, today, we are at April 12th, right? 2022, according to this Gregorian calendar, right? And we're right in this time that we have not seen since 1856. And we're not going to see again in our lifetime, unless we live to 2188. And who knows? But anyway, we are literally witnessing a once in a lifetime event today. So Neptune came into Pisces first at the beginning of 2011, and then it went retrograde back into Aquarius, and it came back for good in the beginning of 2012 to stay in Pisces. So I want to just think about this. Like, how was your spiritual life since then? Like, did it shift in then? Did you change your spiritual path? Like, what happened in your life around this time, like 2011, 2012, even into 2013? I mean, even up until 2015, my journey was very religion based from, I don't even remember, 2002, 2003, something like that, until 2009, and then leaving that. But then I delved into like Judaism, and I delved into a lot of different things. But it really accentuated, and I really came into my own by like 2015, realizing like who I was in my faith, or at least who I wasn't actually. I mean, so how has it shifted for you since then? Because Neptune's going to be in Pisces until 2025. So another 2-3 years. And then it goes retrograde again. And it breaks away from Pisces fully to enter into Aries in 2026. So here's the thing with Pisces. It moves really slow, like really slow. And it takes 165 years for Neptune to travel around the sun. 165 years for Neptune to travel around the sun. So Jupiter, on the other hand, takes 12 years to travel around the sun. And Jupiter spends about a year in each house. I believe Neptune spends about 13, 14 years in each house. So what makes this so unique, this once in a lifetime event today, and what makes it so potent, is that with each planet, think about this, with each planet moving at their own speed, and their own rotation, right? On their own, one spends 1 year in each house, in each sign. The other planet spends, 13, 14 years in each sign. To meet up takes a lot of coordination, right? You think about that, and it takes a lot of coordination. It takes a lot of, time, right? So every 80 years, 160 years, right? They meet up, and this is the time that they meet up in Pisces. And here's the thing, they both Jupiter and Neptune rule Pisces. So that's what makes it so potent. So what makes it unique is the time frame that they're on. What makes it so potent is because they're at home here. And I gave this analogy the other day in a reading, that it's like a sports team. I'm not a huge sports person, but I can absolutely relate to this, and hopefully you can too. It's like a sports team playing in their own like home stadium, right? Like, so if somebody's a betting person, right, they're going to generally bet on the home team because they know that turf, right? They're able to move around, and they have an advantage that the other team doesn't maybe not generally have. So that's exactly what this is here. So they know Pisces, they love being here, both Jupiter and Neptune. And so what that makes them very powerful, they're very strong here because they're at home. So a little bit about the archetype of both of them. And as I'm giving you this is as we go through the houses, you're going to be able to understand then how they're both showing up in your life, because I'm a big one. I love studying the archetypes and bringing these planets to life because when we bring them to life, then it's a relationship, and it's like, oh, okay, I can almost picture them as people, or, these characters, right, that are playing out a role, and how am I expressing that energy, right, through this. So Jupiter is really big. Jupiter's the biggest planet. Jupiter exaggerates and enlarges everything that it touches. So Jupiter is the one that has this huge laughter, right? There's like wants joy in life, and it is about joy, and it's about like a higher perspective. It's Jupiter is Jupiter wants to feel good. Jupiter wants to taste good food. Jupiter wants to smell the flowers. Jupiter wants to, is going around town like, ooh, look at that. Ooh, let's go grab this. Ooh, let's go have fun. I want to feel good. And I want to celebrate all things in life. And I want my body to feel good as well too. And so they're very optimistic. Jupiter is very optimistic. Neptune is about like a Neptunian type of person, is the one that is like, oh, let's just like go on this mystical journey, and the material world doesn't matter, not as much as the spiritual world, and the more we just focus on that and not identify with the body, then we'll be I'll be in my magical state, right? So these are like the about surrendering to the material form. It's about I heard this analogy the other day, that a Jupiter person, or Jupiter, if you think of a Jupiter like archetype, would be the ones that like see these flowers in a garden, and they're like picking them because they want to put them in a beautiful vase and bring them into their home. But the Neptunian type of personality would be like, oh no, like, yeah, they're beautiful and appreciate them for their time, but don't identify with the flowers, because that's the physical world, right? The Neptunian archetype doesn't want to identify with the physical realm. So you can see these two archetypes almost, even though they rule Pisces, they're very different in the way that they're similar in a way, but they're very different in a way of how they approach life. So it's, and neither one is, right or wrong. This is just how they are, right? So this is about reconciling opposing views. This is about bringing this balance between the external and the internal. This is about bringing peace into chaos. This is about recognizing where our emotional turbulence is coming from right now, and realizing that it's helping us to evolve so that we can truly embody what it means to be the calm in the storm. So when I go into the houses here in just a bit, I want you to keep in mind the key word, or the key words, emotional turbulence, because that is the gate that both Neptune and Jupiter are in right now. It's gate 36. And if you know your human design chart, that comes from the emotional solar plexus area. And this is the area within ourselves that is being this mutation. This mutation is happening here. And we are going to be moving in this space of, and we already have had it, if you've been alive for, any length of time and aware of what's happening within ourselves in the world. Emotional awareness is key right now, and emotional maturity. So we are being brought into this space of being brought up to a higher level of emotional maturity. And so how can we get brought into a state of higher emotional maturity is being challenged within our emotions, and being shown how much we allow our emotions to rule our life and our decisions that we make, right? So I'm just going to bring this analogy into this, because I was saying like this emotional turbulence, right? And it makes me think of immediately like Jesus, right? On the boat, like he stayed the story of Jesus, like the calming the waters, right? So he stayed calm when everybody else was freaking out. And the thing is like how I remember the story is it's like they were upset with Jesus that he wasn't even upset about the storm because he was staying so calm. The seas were raging around him and he was asleep. And, the thing is that like he claimed who he was. He knew his authority and he knew who he was. So how are you showing up for yourself in this emotion, in your own emotional turbulence in your life? So, owning who we are and owning all of us, owning all of ourselves, will allow us to step outside of the delusion that Neptune can sometimes bring in and the pride that sometimes Jupiter can bring in, by acceptance of who we are, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, and therefore acceptance of other people as well too. So how are we showing up for ourselves right now? Like, are we showing up in all of our nuances? Are we accepting all of the pieces of ourselves? Are we accepting even our emotional turbulence? Are we accepting and seeing and recognizing and not bypassing, right? Like this emotional time that we're all in. We're all experiencing this. Might be in different ways, but we're all experiencing this. So I want to, one of the things I didn't mention was Jupiter can trap us into, like I mentioned, pride, right? So Jupiter can trap us into pride and this like ridiculous optimism, like where we're like, oh, it doesn't matter. And then Neptune is like the delusion that can keep us in this optimism without, like, I always think of somebody that's like a Mary Poppins, right? Like, not to say that she didn't have her feet on the ground, but like kind of like that. Like how do we remain with our feet on the ground, grounded in, and reaching up to the heavens and bringing both of those like in alignment? And that's really like a good picture to keep in your, in your mind as we're going through this. So it's about what we're claiming and what we're releasing. So, because Neptune's all about surrender and it's about releasing, right? And Jupiter is like, no, I'm going to claim all who I am and I'm going to exaggerate this. So it's bringing those two things into balance. So a question that you can answer for yourself and contemplate is, what do I need to give myself permission to claim and to release for the purpose of expanding my own consciousness? And it's not just for ourselves, but it's for humanity as a whole, because what we do within our own self and our own growth affects everything around us. So, as we are entering into this age of Aquarius, right? At some point, I know there's differing views on if we're already in it or not. It doesn't really matter. But we're entering into this at some point here, right? If we're not already in it. But it's really about how I can be of service for the sake of the whole. And the only way to do this is through the process of individuation. The world is literally like flipped upside down right now, and it's getting this confused. And we're sacrificing ourselves for the sake of the whole, which is the illusion. So it's, how can I be of service for the sake of the whole, right? Like, through my own individuation, through accepting who I am, through understanding who I am on this path and knowing what I am here to do and to bring about. What is my medicine that I'm bringing through here, and not sacrificing our soul to serve. It's not doing those. So we're confused in that, and it's like flipped upside down. So this is going to help us step into that. And I love to look at the Sabian symbols. And so the Sabian symbol for the 23rd, it's happening on the 23rd degree of Pisces, this conjunction. And Jupiter is actually already at the 24th degree. And I'm going to talk about that here in just a minute. But the Sabian symbol for the 23rd, and if you don't know anything about the Sabian symbols, just Google it. It's really interesting. There's a energy for every degree in the zodiac, and it's amazing. And it's always spot on. And I love doing that because it just brings us into a whole other realm of magic. So the 23rd degree of Pisces is self-identification. So what it says here is we must choose how to interrelate with others. And so the need arises for an acceptable yet authentic identity. So it's as we mature, we soften our insistence upon our version of truth and open up more to the fact that others are free to exercise their right to see things differently than us. So it's about acceptance, right? We're maturing. And so we soften our insistence of like, you must see things my way or else. And it's like, oh, I see things my way. I accept that because I'm accepting of myself and I'm individuating enough where like, okay, like this is me and that is them, right? I'm no longer living in a codependent state of existence. And realizing that other people see things differently than we do. So it's like, oh, I'm here. What can I learn from you? And what can you learn from me so that we can inhabit, this space together. So I find it really interesting on all of the division, right? That is being manufactured in this world over these last however many years, that this is the degree that this falls on. This is the energy of this degree. So you can just contemplate that and see what that means for you. But here's the thing, Jupiter within like 3 hours moved into the 24th degree of Pisces, which the Sabian symbol for that is rooting out corruption. So it's freeing. Here's the thing that I loved in this. And so I'm going to speak this about this degree. And then we're going to move into the houses. But freeing ourselves from the corruption that has blinded our soul's consciousness. I'm going to say that again. Freeing ourselves from the corruption that has blinded our soul's consciousness. So I love how, we're starting to accept ourselves, all these things, every little bit about ourselves and others. And then like immediately Jupiter moves to the 24th degree. And remember, Jupiter exaggerates everything that Jupiter's around, right? So it's like, ooh, I wonder what Jupiter's doing and up to, like freeing ourselves from the corruption that has blinded our own soul. Like, what have we done to our own soul to blind our own soul's evolution and growth and expansion, right? So we get to see that now so that we can really, truly move forward. So this is all about our soul's expansion. And if you are on here, I'm sure like this is what you're wondering about as well too, right? How is it speaking to your own soul? So here's the thing though, as I go through the house that you have Pisces in for you, tune into your soul as I'm speaking this, because I guarantee your soul knows. Like your soul knows. Like I had so many readings this last week and I'm like by the time I got like through half of them for the week, it was like, I don't know, like 13 or something or 14 of them. I was like, all right, your soul knows this. Your soul knows like we can do this and you can have confirmation, but your soul knows. So just tune into that for yourself. And again, this is what is like for your own soul's expansion. And this is also a general overview. So like to have a lot more specifics of what is coming up, it's going to be in your own unique chart. So this is going to be a general, overview. So if say you're having something unique to you, like say you're having a Jupiter return, or say there's even a Saturn return in there, or say there's like a Chiron return, or depending on where your natal Jupiter is and natal Neptune, it might be a little different to like, not different, but it might add in a little extra nuances to this general overview. So just keep that in mind as I go through this. And if you want to go deeper into your chart, just let me know. And we can sure set up a reading, but just to let you know that when I go through these houses, it's a general overview. So, all right, let's get into it, huh? So any questions so far I'm actually making like, it's good time so far. So I wanted just to see if anybody has any questions before we get into the houses. And if not, we'll just keep rolling. But all right, we'll just keep rolling. So, all All right, so let's see here. All right, so this is if you have Pisces rising. So Pisces rising, it's going to be in your first house. So we're going to start there. So remembering that this is about what you're claiming and this is about what you're releasing. And this is about an area in your life that you might be experiencing emotional turbulence. Because remember, Neptune and Jupiter are in the gate 36, which is coming from the solar plexus in a human design chart. And this emotional turbulence could be exaggerated a little bit right now and brought up to the surface more right now. So for Pisces rising, it's your first house. What is important for you right now is to claim your soul, your own soul choices for yourself. And this is going to be the hardest thing because Pisces are so sensitive, but even when other people don't like these choices, right? So there can be, this is all about your identity. So there could be wounds around rejection, wounds around not being loved, not being accepted, not feeling included. And so it's going to be a tough, challenge potentially for you, depending on everything that's happened up into your life until right now. But the key is to release what you feel like, release worrying about what people are going to think about you. And realizing as well too, that all of the choices you've made up until this point are right here and right there. And there's nobody to blame, other than there's no blame, there's no shame or blame, but there's nobody to blame in this at all. It's just the choices. So now how do you want to go from here? So it's releasing the need to please others and trust your own individual path. And this, it's like having the energy of this is what I'm going to do. And I had on here earlier, because I wrote some notes for each house. It's about being selfish, about being okay to be selfish, but it's about being innocently selfish. It's about being selfish because you have to be selfish in order to be of service to others. And so your spiritual choices are really coming into focus here. And you may disappoint others. You may, and you may worry about disappointing others. But this is really about your soul's growth by the choices, by the spiritual choices that you're making right now. And so what choice could you make for your own soul's growth, for even your own identity? Or maybe what identity are you trying to put out to people that maybe isn't really truly yours? And maybe that is what you need to release, right? Claim your truest identity, your truest path. And there might be people that have been attached to the identity that you've put out there that maybe isn't yours. And maybe you're really realizing that right now. So keep that in mind if you're a Pisces rising. So the next is Aquarius rising. If you're Aquarius rising, this is happening in your second house. And this is going to really be about a reevaluation of your values and your resources, and claiming a way to provide for yourself in a physical way that will support your spiritual journey. So you might have a reevaluation even to a values of what that means for you, what that means. Maybe you used to in the past buy something inexpensive or cheap because it's oh, it's cheap, so I'm just going to do it and it'll serve its purpose, right? But now you're oh gosh, I'm really wanting to change how I look at my physical resources and really value them in a way that I haven't before. So where are you possibly denying yourself in doing that, right? Maybe there's a retreat that you really need to go on, that this, you just feel it's correct for you, or a class that you want to take, or something that you want to even purchase for your home, or something that's going to feel good for you, that's going to support you in a physical way, but that's going to allow your soul to expand as well too. So it's really about even self-confidence. Like, where are you struggling with self-confidence around your even physicality, your physical being, everything physical about you? So it's like really rethinking your material items. Food is a big one in this as well too, right? So how are you reevaluating your values when it comes to these things? So it's claiming the right to, realign your values in the way that you need to, that feels really good for your soul, and releasing any kind of like soul contract or a past life of like poverty, like a poverty contract, like, lineage, like any kind of like a lineage vow on behalf of ancestors, things like that. So there might be emotional turbulence for you around money, right? Around your self-esteem, around a loss. Maybe there's like a job loss or money loss or something physical that's been lost. It's okay. Allow, and that's the other thing too within this, allow whatever is falling away to fall away, because there's something new that is coming in. Remember, Jupiter brings blessings. We have to release though in order to claim, and we have to claim in order to release. So it's this beautiful relationship. So yeah, so second house is, what are you, the other thing too is like, how are you providing like the values that you are really like inventing for yourself? It's about the future, right? It has to be about the future. It's like, what's going to last? Like maybe before you're like, oh, I'll just buy this, it's cheap, this is what's in my budget. It's like, oh no, I want quality now. I want quality food. I want quality clothes. I want quality, in my home, because this is about what's going to last. So whatever is obstructing that for you, of allowing yourself to physically like take care of yourself, to support yourself, to support you on your spiritual journey, pay attention to that. So third house, Capricorn Rising. So if you're a Capricorn Rising, this is going to apply to you. So this is big. This is a big house. This is really big. This is hard for Capricorns to do too, right? Because Capricorns are like generally, depending on, again, individual placements as well too. But a lot of times Capricorns can like have a hard time really trusting how they feel, trusting their emotions, trusting, things like that. And so this is about your claiming your right to speak with authority. And this is about trusting your senses, trusting your eyes, trusting your ears, trusting your experiences. So you most likely have probably had spiritual experiences, like spiritual, like things happening to you, maybe even throughout your life, that maybe you've never really been acknowledged for. Maybe you've never acknowledged yourself for. So trust, this is the time to trust your senses, and this is the time to trust your perceptions, and to realize possibly what you've maybe, like, what have you repressed? If you've repressed like your gifts here, your emotions here, and learning how to open your heart. And the more you open your heart, the more you're going to trust what comes through you. And the more you're going to be able to speak with authority, because you're speaking from an open heart. So this is about like releasing the need for approval. Like you don't need an expert, right? Like that's Capricorn, right? Like, well, I need somebody like, to validate, what I'm saying here. And you don't need releasing that. Like you don't need to be validated by an external authority. You are your own authority. Your voice is your authority, and your inner self is coming out. And it's like, it's okay. Even if somebody thinks you're freaking bonkers for saying something, or, bringing something up to maybe you have a message for someone, obviously, like, ask permission. I'm a big one on that. But, But yeah, like don't negate your own experiences. And if you have a hard time with that, look back to childhood. This is all like, it's inner child. Like I do a lot of work around this. So go back to inner child stuff. Like where were your experiences negated possibly as a child, right? Because you're learning to speak like from the heart, and nobody needs to validate you. Like nobody. You are your own authority, and you speak your own authority and speak from that space and trust it. That's the biggest thing. Just trust it so that you can speak it. So fourth house, if you're a Sag rising, this is a really beautiful one because you need a lot of peace right now. So if you're a Sag rising, you need peace in your life, and you need serenity, and you need contemplation, and you need a space in your home. This is all about the home, right? This is about our inner self as well too. It's like what's happening underneath the surface where nobody gets to come in unless you really let them in. But even the closest people to you don't really actually see these places within yourself, right? It's like our home too, right? If you think about it, like, what do you do when somebody's coming over? Oh, let's race to clean the house, right? Like nobody sees the inner workings of your home, right? Generally, unless you live there. So it's the same thing within yourself. So where is there a lack of peace within yourself? And what do you need to support yourself? So claiming the right to make yourself, your own inner self, a sanctuary of peace. And possibly that is going to come out in the external of your home as well too. Maybe there's a room in your home that you can do this with, or a place outside of your home that you can set up, or just even a little like place in the corner of your room if you're like have a tight spot, whatever that is. But the thing that you need to release, because this is fourth house as well too, is like any kind of responsibilities that are not feeding your soul, because they're not like, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not helping you establish a peace within. And the other thing too is because it's fourth house is like, what is a relationship with yourself to the feminine? How you nurture yourself, maybe even your mother or a mother figure could feel like this could feel very emotional. It's a fourth house, right? And so if there's any kind of emotional turbulence right now within your home, pay attention to that. Like what's coming up that you need to acknowledge? What is happening within you that you don't show other people, right? Where do you need to bring in more peace? Just more peace. Just more peace. When you feel like you can exhale, that's what you're going for, is like, oh, I just want to exhale. And that's what you're going for. But like, if you are super emotional right now, like work with that. Just don't allow those emotions to make the decisions for you, right? Pay attention though to what those are, and don't attach yourself to the emotions that are coming up. So next is Scorpio Rising. It's a fifth house. So this is happening in your fifth house. If you're a Scorpio Rising, then you have Pisces in your fifth house. And I want to make a comment. I've said this before too, but I work with whole house system. So if you're running your chart and say the default is always Placidus when you are running charts online, like if on the free online things, and I do whole house. I've switched between a few different house systems, and I always go back to whole house. And so I just want to let you know that that's what I base my my readings on and my astrology on. So if you have Pisces fifth house, you're a Scorpio rising. If you're a Scorpio rising, you have Pisces fifth house. So this is about claiming your creativity and your right to have joy in your life. This is about your inner child. This is about play. This is about joy. This is about connecting to to yourself, to your higher self, to spirit. Creativity comes when we connect to spirit. So whatever obstacle is in the way of you being able to play. And if you're like saying to yourself, I'm not creative, I'm not creative. Oh, that person over there, they're creative or they're creative, but I just really not have it. I'm really not. It's a lie, number one. And you're victimizing yourself. That's just not even true. It's a lie. And connect to spirit more. Get out in nature more. Get music more, do whatever you can do. There's no perfect way to do it. The only perfect way is how you connect to spirit. There's no like perfect formula, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's how you connect and what allows you to connect to spirit. What allows you connect to yourself, where you just feel it in your body and you're like, oh my gosh, like, yes. And you just want to create, right? And this is a house even too of like sex. It's like seductive, like areas too. It's like, how can you play more in that area? So it's really about connection to source. Because that is how we create, you know? So releasing, so claiming that creativity, claiming the right to connect to source in the way that you do it uniquely for you, right? Again, I just went over this yesterday with a client. I was like, she's like, well, I don't do this and I don't do this and I don't accept this. I'm like, it doesn't really matter. Like, do you feel led to do those things? Then do it. But I mean, these things, there's not like a dogmatic way to connect to spirit. It's how you do it. You'll feel it. You'll know it by how you are, right? By the energetic state that you are in. So release or pay attention to any belief or person or obstacle in your life that's just preventing you from this. And oftentimes it can just be a perspective shift too. So pay attention to the stories that you're telling yourself that are saying, oh, I can't do this. I'm not creative. Oh, I can't play. Like, or maybe like, it's dumb to play. I can't just sit there. And it's like this is about losing yourself in play. So how like lose yourself in playful activities, being a child again, right? You think about that childlike laughter, right? Like that just genuine laughter that just, they can't even help it, right? Or when you think about it, like whenever you've had those laughter where you're like, you can't stop laughing, right? It's that state. So release or pay attention to anything that is like not allowing you to be in that space for yourself. And, you know, with this too, Scorpio, like Scorpios are big, like, it's attachments. There could be attachments to resentments, attachments to certain things that are preventing you from just playing and letting go and releasing. So just being aware of that for yourself if you're Scorpio rising. So Libra, we are on next. And this is a 6th house, Pisces. So if you're Libra rising, you have Pisces in your 6th house. This is about claiming, this is 6th house stuff, right? So this is like claiming the right to get out of like a routine that is not bringing life to your life, right? A routine that is just mundane, a routine that is just like, like I'm here and I'm doing the same thing every day. And it could be even bringing up some health issues. Again, even mental health issues as well. You know, or the idea that like, oh, do I have a mental health issue? Do I have a health issue? Like it might not be anything. But there could be something like that around that too. So it's about like releasing yourself from this idea that like you have to be in the structured routine and blah, 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 and taking responsibility that isn't yours. So it's like claiming the responsibilities that are actually correct for you. And, you know, not, you know, hanging on, like not sabotaging yourself by saying, I have all these things to do and I can't get out of them. Oh, I have to do this, but I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. Okay. So how are these duties, if you're in this, have anything to do with the evolution of your soul? Your mind might be rationalizing, but is it really? And your soul knows. So trust your soul. So what do you need to like claim the right to not have to be in this rhythm of kind of this like slavery, like I got to do this, I got to do this. I'm a slave to my work. I'm a slave to my routine. I'm a slave to all of my duties. And changing the perspective on that and releasing the responsibilities that isn't yours. And being real with that. Don't let your mind tell you that it is yours if it's really not yours. So pay attention to your mind in this, if you have Libra rising and if this is in your 6th house, because our minds can play tricks on us. Our minds are pretty powerful. And so just pay attention to that. All right, 7th house. So if you're Virgo rising, you have Pisces in the 7th house. This is all about relationships, right? So claiming the right to be like understood, claiming the right to be loved, claiming the right to be seen, claiming the right to have a spiritual connection with your partner. It's not about being aligned with every little thing, but it's about the connection. Is your partner, if you're in a partnership, any kind of one-on-one relationship is really a partnership, who is an evolutionary catalyst for you? I heard that the other day and I thought, I love that. I'm like, oh, that 7th house right there. So who in your life, one-on-one relationship, could be a partner, could be just like a really, really close friend, who is an evolutionary catalyst for you? Who is someone that you feel joy and peace around, that you can connect with on a soul level? Also though too, this is Virgo rising too. So like, where are you needing to bring in compassion for yourself more, and compassion possibly like as a whole, like in your life? So releasing relationships that aren't helping you in your evolution. So people in this house, you might have had a loss of a relationship or a loss of partnership on some level, or it might be happening, or it might be one of those things where your soul knows that it might need to happen. And it's like, do I do this? How do I go through this? Again, your soul knows. Your soul knows. Your soul knows. And what will stop us is this emotional turbulence and fear of like, well, what happens if I do this? What happens if I actually release and let joy in my life, right? 5th house, right? What happens if I release this daily routine that has gotten myself into this slavery mindset of like, oh my God, work like that. And if I say no more, and if I release this responsibility that isn't mine, oh, somebody else might get ticked off. Okay. Can we let that be, right? For the sake of our soul. So that's 7th house. All right. Leo rising. If you're Leo rising, this isn't happening in your 8th house. I'm a Leo rising. So this is very near and dear to myself. This is 8th house stuff, right? This is about death and rebirth. This is about claiming the right to be who you are and to be able to mutate in a sense, to be able to change yourself, to be able to be reborn, to be able to really go into that deep, 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 intimate space within yourself. So this is happening if you're a Leo rising. Pisces is in your 8th house. And I will say this has been my personal experience. I can speak to this personally. Things might be coming up for you that you might be aware of, like, oh, that was an emotional block within me that I didn't even realize. That's what's happened to me before of past relationships that I've realized were like, oh, that was like the catalyst of me shutting down certain parts of myself. Okay, how can I come back into that space and heal that space so that I can be more intimate with myself and more intimate with life, right? And others. So this is about you needing to have people in your life that support you in a way that you can say anything and trust that it's going to be received in a way that you will feel supported and your soul will be supported in your soul's evolution. This is about true authenticity. Like this is about, if you're Leo rising, you're not able to have like people in your life that aren't like truly like having passionate energies with yourself. And meaning passionate, meaning just truthful, authentic, and releasing any kind of defense or any kind of emotional block, being aware of that, right? And releasing that will prevent that. So there could be a breakthrough in your relationships at this time, or a breakthrough of understanding your relationships in this time. So the other thing with the 8th house too, right? It's just all about the occult too. So, and I can attest to this as well too. So the veil is very thin if you're Leo rising right now for you, and you're able to tune in and understand like, oh, yep, this is a message. Oh, no, I'm not in connection, like really, really quickly. So you might be having crazy dreams and some mystical experiences. Trust what you're getting, trust what you're receiving, because this is a powerful, I mean, 8th house is very much like, yeah, I mean, it's a powerful space. And sometimes it's hard to understand what's coming forth from this house. Just trust it. Just trust whatever's coming forth, even if it feels new to you, even if it feels like edgy for you, just trust it. So it's about claiming the right to truly be intimate within yourself. And when you do that, you're transparent and authentic, right? And release the defenses that you maybe didn't even realize you were holding on to, that might be coming up, that you're realizing those things now. And pay attention to the mystical experiences that you might be experiencing as well too. So Cancer rising, 9th house. So if you're Cancer rising, you have Pisces in the 9th house, according to the whole house system. So this is about Cancer, like Cancers love safety, right? Cancers love to feel like secure and like warm at home and like cuddled up and stuff, right? In a blanket, nurturing. This is about releasing everything that you think that you know and learning something new. This is for your soul's growth. So take something, learn something, listen to a video, do something that's different than what you normally would. And it's the key is releasing what you think you know. So claiming the right to expand your own mind, expand your own soul in new ways of processing information, new ways of thinking, new ways of learning something, right? Like the 9th house, it's all about higher learning, right? As well too. But this is about, it's like the guru too, though. So it release what you think you know, right? Release that inner expert that like, you know, that thinks that they know the answers already, right? And prepare your soul to have this crazy evolutionary shift. So seek out beliefs that you wouldn't normally seek out. I was listening to this thing last night and I loved it. And it was a completely different thing that I would normally listen to. And so I thought about this, like with Cancer rising, with Pisces in the 9th house. I'm like, it expands your mind and consciousness to even hold the possibility that there could be other beliefs than the ones that you currently hold. And that is what's going to help expand your soul right now in this time, because we don't know what's going to come from that, right? So play with that. And if there's anything that you're like come across that like you're like, oh no, like, well, that's probably for you actually. So tune into that and give yourself permission to claim that, and you don't have to believe it. You just have to hold space that there's like, oh gosh, there could be other possibilities out there. And then you get to like challenge your own beliefs too, right? So when we can challenge our own beliefs, that's when we grow, that's when we expand. And when we can just hold space. And if you're familiar with human design, And if you have like an open head or open ajna, like the two top on the top, like this is so critical for you too. Like you can't be certain. You can't be certain. It's like, that is like the shadow self, is to be certain. I'm certain that I know this, that I have this belief that this is how it is, and don't challenge me on that. So if you are Cancer rising and this is in your 9th house, and especially if you have an open ajna in human design, like this is going to be wonderful, like for you to really delve into. So have fun with it. And whenever you feel yourself like getting too attached to like, oh God, I don't know if I can like go there. It's like, go there, just have fun with it. Doesn't mean you have to believe it and attach to it. That's the biggest thing, is don't attach yourself to any belief. Just hold the space that there's possibility for. Who knows what, right? What else is possible that we haven't even considered yet, right? It's that question that I asked in the beginning of this. So, all right, Gemini rising. So this is Pisces in your 10th house. This is like maybe career shifting, right? It's 10th house stuff. So values even around your career. Just like the 4th house was a relationship with the feminine, the 10th house could be a relationship to the masculine, or maybe healing around like father wound or father figure, or, holding space for that structure, possibly like that maybe you haven't given yourself permission to have before, or maybe it's been too rigid. So what are you here to do, right? That might be a question like, oh my God, what am I here to do? Career might be shifting. Maybe you had a loss of career. Maybe you, having just a lot of shifts like in your public presence, how people see you. And so the thing is to claim like you have a spiritual voice that is needed to be heard right now. So if you're Gemini rising, this is happening in your 10th house, there's something within your career, there's something within how you show up, right? Your public persona that you need to claim the right that you have the ability to offer benefits to your, to your community, to your networks, to others, that allow for spiritual growth, for spiritual evolution, and that you have spiritual gifts that your community needs right now. Release any kind of idea that you have to have a certain persona, right? Or a certain reputation in order to do that thing that you really, that your soul is desiring to do, that your soul is calling for you to do. Opportunities will come in, when we stand in our truth. So stand up for your truth right now. Stand up for, who you are and your values, and because your spiritual, voice is really valuable right now. And so pay attention if there's shifts in your career, if there's shifts in just how you and how people see you, and in how maybe you even come across, right? And so see whatever is bringing in any kind of emotional turbulence. Remember, everything is about, okay, emotional turbulence. Where am I experiencing emotional turbulence in my life? It's a 36. And where is this bringing me into an emotional level of like emotional maturity level here? So releasing any attachment to anything that's not allowing you to speak this spiritual, like or to share your spiritual gifts and to stand up for your truth, right? It's not about telling other people what to do, right? We already went over that 23rd degree of Pisces, but it's about standing up for your truth and speaking your truth as well too. And just being real with that and just grounding into that. So, all right, 11th house, Taurus. If you're a Taurus rising, Pisces is your 11th house. So this is friend groups. This is networks. This is all of these things might be shifting right now. Maybe you're losing friends. Maybe you're having new networks come in. But this is like claiming the right to prioritize your like networks, like your spiritual path has something to do with the networks and the friends that you have. And so, you can be a little like crazy spiritual person right now. If you want, if you're a Taurus rising, you might be like, oh, I'm a little bit more grounded in than that. But it's you're creating a space, a new networks, again, new connections. And it's really about like, it's for the future as well too, right? So it's like-minded people. And if other people are leaving your life, let them leave. There might be, like I said, that loss of networks, or maybe even they're just shifting, right? Because there's new things coming in. And so being aware of what that is for you. So, because how you're going to help expand your own soul's evolution and consciousness is through your friend groups, is through your networks, because it's really about furthering your path and being on the correct path for your future, for your soul, for the sake of your soul, right? So make that a priority, and don't attach yourself to any losses of friends or losses of networks or losses of anything like that. That might be coming up for you during this time, because again, any loss in any house that we've gone through, it just means that there's something that's coming in. And so trust that. Don't be attached and be like, oh my gosh, I wish everything was different. That's not acceptance, right? We're in a mode of like accepting what is, because it just is. And the more we're attached, the more emotional turmoil you're going to experience. So Aries rising means Pisces is in your 12th house. So one of my kiddos is this, and it's interesting because I wouldn't say he's here yet on this. He's only like 13, just turned 13. But anyway, this is a big healing for you, Aries. This could be one of the biggest houses that this could be in. If you're an Aries rising, this could be like, what the hell is happening in my life? I know I need to make a change, but it feels so radical and it feels so intense right now. And it is, because this could be a radical shift in, Aries is about the ego, right? It's like, it could be ego healing, ego cleansing, but like life might be rocking you literally to the core. So this is about claiming the right to allow life to rock you, right? And embarking on a spiritual practice that is true for you, like really true for you. And at the extreme, it could be releasing all attachments, right, to the world. Very Neptunian, right? It's 12th house. So it's like, I'm releasing all attachments to the material world, and I'm going to, like, it's the person that, like, leaves their relationship, leaves their job, leaves, and sells their home, and they, just sell everything, and they buy a backpack and they start to hike the Himalayas or something like that, right? Because it's a radical commitment to like the spiritual realm, the mystical realm. And so it's somehow like there's a shift in how you like the material world in some way needs to like kind of shift a little bit, or not be so attached to the attachments. And there's attachments that are shifting within you. And so again, though, this is like 12th house as well too, right? So pay attention to your dreams, past lives. A lot of things in the unconscious might be coming up for you. And this might be a real battle, right? Because Aries doesn't want to let go. Aries wants to like hang on. Aries wants to take action and be like, no, I want it, this way. It's very much like that. And so your soul might be craving something different than what your mind ever thought you would be. So pay attention to that for you, and give yourself the right to claim your own spiritual path, right? And maybe it's a whole new spiritual practice for you that is going to literally change your whole identity, right? Because Aries is about your identity as well too. So that is the signs, or the journey through the astrology, all the houses And again, remember, this is happening in gate 36. So while this conjunction happened this morning, I just want to, it's not like it's over today. We're going to be feeling this pretty much throughout this whole year. So Jupiter's past Neptune now in 24th degree, but we're still feeling it. Jupiter's huge, remember. And then Jupiter's going to head into Aries and come back and I think I want to say, if I remember right, they're going to be within a 6-degree orb of each other, like later on this year. So we're going to get a taste of this energy again, and we're going to be in this, but this really is our time to claim a new way, to heal the things that maybe have felt so long, like in our life, like, am I ever going to freaking heal this thing? Like, yes, now's the time, right? And to step literally into a whole new realm within ourselves and within the world. But it's how we navigate this energy, and it's how we navigate the emotional energy and not being attached. You don't have to do anything to have this or to be in this way. It's what it is healing and releasing the attachments so that we're able to claim, what your soul needs to claim for the sake of your soul, right? So I hope that you found value in this. And remember, this is just like a general overview of these energies for each house. And so if you would like to have a more individual reading, just reach out to me, or you can book on my site as well too. And then if you're interested in sovereign kids, it's when conscious parents or conscious parenting and human design collide. I'll have it on my site soon. Just reach out to me. I don't have it on yet, but if you have any questions as well too, we have a few more minutes that I'm open to questions if anybody has any. Oh, there's something in the chat here. Oh, Amy, so excited for this with our kids. I was just saying this the other day to have this. Oh, awesome. Awesome. You know what I'm going to do? Actually, I'm going to stop the recording now. And then if you want questions, so it won't be on the recording. So anyway, I'm going to stop right now.